I'm going to share with you the most powerful weapons in Elden Ring and clear up some misconceptions about some of the weapons as of patch 1.04. I'm going to give you my top picks for easy weapons to use and weapons that completely trivialize and break the game. And I'm going to show them to you maximum upgrades and maximum stats in everything. That's right. So at the very, very highest level of this game, you're going to see just how much damage these weapons do, why you want to, or maybe why you don't want to use certain weapons. Let's get right into it. So with the dagger tree, I'm going to tell you right now, there is no reason to use a single dagger in the entire game, and let me go over why. Unless you're using it as like a buff stick, okay? You can use a dagger for like Bloodhound Step or Golden Vow, that's pretty good. But other than that, there's no reason to use any of these. So parrying dagger, maybe you're from like Dark Souls 2 and you like have a parrying dagger build. Well, let me tell you what, parrying daggers, parry frames are less than small shields and less than golden parry. There's no reason not, if you want to be a parry character, you're going to use a small shield with golden parry. Simple as that. The Misericord, even fully upgraded, it may have the highest critical percentage in the game, but compared to Colossal weapons, it deals less critical damage, so there's no reason to ever use this or level it up or bother with it, okay? Now, the Reduvia Bloodblade does hit about 100 damage harder than a regular dagger's Bloodblade. That's it. Alright, the power stance or dual-wielding swing animations and run attacks for daggers are not nearly as good as curved swords for bleed builds, so curved swords beat Reduvia in that regard. The Black Knife, even if you fully max it out, its Blade of Death ability still deals the same percentage damage to a boss's max health, making it still pretty irrelevant. Like, there's no reason to even bother leveling this up. Alright, so short swords. There's really not much going on in short swords as far as carry potential or just lazy mode beat the game. Yes, there's a lot of meme videos of the Regalia of Eochaid, or the bigger version of this sword that just drills into enemies and kills them down. I'm talking in this video, let me show you. I'm wearing pure defensives, nothing to buff damage. This video is going over just raw base damage potential, and the reason why is because there are weapons that far outdo the drill weapons or the consecutive hit weapons, and if you were to go like a full DPS or a glass cannon build, then you can pump up other weapons to deal even more damage even faster, alright? So other than that, the only decent short sword is Sword of Night and Flame. Now this weapon, it was heavily nerfed. This used to be speedrunners' max boss run weapon of choice right here, okay? And the only reason it's still decent is because you can attack for a decent amount of damage from range. Alright, with its, you hold, what is that? Yeah, you hold R2, you push, or L2, push R1, you do kind of an energy wave blast. It deals a decent amount of damage, it casts relatively quickly, and you can also do a fire wave, which that's not the fire wave. Now, it's basically like Flame of Redmanes, but without the poise damage. It does slightly more than a Flame of Redmanes on a regular weapon, but it does not do the poise damage, therefore that fire attack is not worth using. Now, I want to talk about my test dummy here, the gargoyle here. This gargoyle is completely immune to bleed, rot, poison, everything. He's immune to everything, and he is strong and resistant to everything. So he's the perfect test dummy to use for a video like this, alright? So let's get into Greatswords, alright? There's only one Greatsword that's actually decent to use, and that's the Blasphemous Blade, but even then, this is not so much for damage, alright? This is more so for ease of gameplay. Now let me tell you a little bit about it. Anytime you kill an enemy, it's going to heal you, but anytime you use this ability, it's going to also heal you for a percentage of your life, and it's supposed to shoot out a shockwave of fire damage, which it's a little hard to see right now. I'm going to get this guy's attention. It also deals over 1,000 jump damage when you have maximum stats. So I'm going to let him hit me, and I'm going to show you how much this thing can heal us. Alright, he completely missed there. Here we go, some nice juicy hit. There we go. And then let me dodge that. And we're going to hit him now with this little fire attack. And look at my HP bar. It's basically like rewinding time from one of his hits. Okay, and I know I'm in full, bull armor with full defensives, but essentially you can basically tap yourself back up to full life while dealing a decent amount of damage. So you can just trade with bosses as long as you want, as long as you have mana. So again, this is just a really easy to use weapon. It's also very easy to get. You just kill Rykard and you turn his soul into the people at the round table. It's really easy to get, it's super powerful, and if you hit multiple targets with that ability, it's basically a full heal. Alright, yes, there's other swords that deal things like the Sacred Relic Sword. You have to beat the game to get this. It doesn't really deal that much damage. It deals damage, a lot of damage to undead characters. It's used for a rune farm, but other than that, it has no real practical use for new players or for people just, you know, coasting through the game. Alright, so Colossal Swords. Let's see, there is nothing of value for Colossal Swords unless you're some kind of hardcore no magic allowed PvPer. Grafted Blade Greatsword is completely irrelevant if you have maximum stats. You cannot go above 99 stats. Ruin's Greatsword's ability sucks, okay, and it's pretty you can get it standardized on other weapons, alright? The Black Flames, Queen's Black Flame is not good on Godslayer, Star Color Cry sucks, and Destined Death from Malekith's Black Blade is also not good. Alright, so for a weapon to be featured on this video, it has to have a really good Ash of War, or just have a very special element for it, right? Now, there's no thrusting swords that really stand out. I've talked about the Ant Spur thrusting sword before in videos because it's an early source of rod, but you know, as far as late game goes, you don't really need it. It doesn't have anything special. You can just use Rotten Breath instead. It's much faster. Alright, and then you have the Great Thrusting Swords. Again, nothing here is worth using. There used to be a PvP build with Thundercloud Form that got nerfed, so it's a dead weapon. Now, Curved Swords. I want to show you, in my opinion, the best weapon in the entire game, and that is the Wing of Astel, and I'm going to show you why this is the best weapon in the entire game. Now, the reason I have not made a video dedicated to this weapon is it's kind of a late game weapon. You have to progress pretty damn far into the story. All right. So a few things. When you use the heavy attack, you shoot out a little magic like blade, which is pretty cool. The charged heavy shoots out 2 of them. These deal considerable nice damage, especially with high stats. But the main thing is the Ash of War. It's basically a space explodey version of Flame of Redmanes with a little less range. Now, let me tell you the cool thing. If you have an enemy in a corner and you cast this thing, all the balls compact into one little area. So you can just shotgun enemies with this, okay? Now, the Gargoyle isn't even one of the bigger enemies of the game, but he will still get hit on average 3 times with this. Now, if you specialize in damage, each of these little balls that blow up can hit for over 3,000 to 5,000 damage, depending on the enemy's resistances, okay? And that's not even fully full buffed, that's just semi-lazy buffed. But the cool thing is that these deal high poise damage. Also, this is I've always wondered this too. If you've ever executed an enemy and they're on the ground or they're kneeling down after a poise break, what is the hardest hitting thing in the entire game you can hit them with? And the answer is Nebula. Now, there's one other item in the game. There's a flail that has this spell, but it has this ridiculous wind up where you jump backwards and you float forward and you swing, and there's a wide arc. You don't want to use that one because the cast time is way too high. The damage isn't as good. But this one, you can literally just spam this on any boss in the game and they will be poise broken. They will take immense damage. I have no damage buffs. I have no damage talismans or armors or anything going on right now. Alright, and like bosses will walk into this. They can't really dodge it. They'll try. Okay, well he just dodged it, but you get the point. Okay, so he's poise broken. Instead of executing, just run up and start shotgunning him with this thing, right? And that's going to deal considerable amounts of damage. You can fire and forget. I can already roll away while he like flies into this thing. It's an absolute amazing. It's one of the most amazing weapons in the game. In PvP, people don't know how to react to this thing unless they're a ranged fighter. It just like if you have 3 dudes coming at you, you cast this, they're dead. They're dead. They are not rolling out of that. Okay. Wing of Astel, the only gripe I have with it is it's kind of a late game weapon. It's a real pain in the butt to get. I'm not going to bother making a video on how to get it. Just do what I did and cheat the game and load it into your character. Alright, so, now, curved greatswords, okay, nothing really of merit to talk about here. Now, there is one that's kind of okay, the Magma Worm's Scale Sword. However, in boss fight testing, unless it's a giant heckin' melee boss, this weapon serves no real purpose, okay? So you kind of jump forward, you dump some magma on the ground, and this is one of the stronger damaging magma abilities in the entire game, and you could stack it up if you position your character properly. This thing will hit like at least 3 times on a big fat boss, but on a skinnier like gargoyle, it does not hit nearly as much, so it's not really that useful. It's kind of an honorable mention, really. Alright, so katanas, I'm going to tell you right now, katanas are top tier when they come to weapons. Now, Moonveil, this was a second popular choice for speedrunners for killing bosses. Now, you have the ability here, you can shoot like a horizontal kind of magic thing. It's a little hard to see the distance, but it comes out really fast. And a vertical one. This vertical one will actually headshot so many bosses in the game. And the greatest thing about this weapon is it's fast. You can move after casting. It deals high damage and high poise damage, okay? So let's just spam this on the boss. That's 1,000, and I'm kind of slow at it. That's another 1,000. All right, and I could roll. I'm not locked into an animation. That actually hit him while he was kind of zooming around. All right, one more hit, and he should be poise broken. And there, well, maybe. He's supposed to be poise broken after 4 hits. I don't know what's going on. There we go. See, and at this time, there is a method where you can hit him twice and then execute him. The execute deals 200 more damage than a misericord. Alright, which is that crit dagger. This weapon, it's fast, it's also incredibly easy to get. You just gotta kill a magma worm near the start of the game, which I have a video about, actually. I'm not gonna bother linking it, but you can check out my channel if you're really, really curious. Now, next up, in the katana section, Rivers of Blood. It's hard to show the power of this weapon against the gargoyle, because the gargoyle cannot be bled. This weapon deals, even without bleed procs, it deals significantly high damage. And it's lazy. It tracks amazingly well. Just one little combo there, 1,700. You can normally hit for more than that. I think I just kind of got the hitbox weird. But the only gripe about this weapon is you have to unlock the snowy zone, and if you kill a fire giant before getting it, it's lost forever in that playthrough. But also, this thing tracks and follows really well. It has a nice range, very wide, you know, area of effect. If this gargoyle could be bled, he would have taken significantly massive amounts of damage because this weapon will bleed targets out so fast. It's also probably the most annoying thing to fight in PvP, Rivers of Blood. Alright, other than that, Hand of Millennia, a lot of people think this is a cool-ass weapon because it has this... Look at how much stamina this takes, okay? I'm at 99 endurance. Well, I have to be in combat, but the DPS is not nearly as high as other weapons, believe it or not. There are many YouTubers that have debunked this, that have shown that the DPS on this Hand of Millennia, even if you use all the proper, you know, talismans. Now this is unupgraded, this is not a plus 10, so ignore the damage, but look how much stamina just one combo took. It took nearly all of my stamina, okay? And most players aren't going to have 99 endurance to be able to do that. This weapon, it's a meme weapon, the stat requirements are way too high. It sucks. There's other weapons that deal considerable more DPS. Don't use the Hand of Millennia. Alright, so next up, Twinblades, nothing really there. Eleonora's Pole Blade is kind of a discount Rivers of Blood. It's not nearly as good, not in PvP or anything. Against bosses, it doesn't hit as hard either, but if you really don't want to use a katana because you hate the social stigma, go ahead and use the Eleonora's Pole Blade instead. Again, not as good though. I wouldn't bother picking this one up or wasting time upgrading it instead, okay? So, what about axes? Now, the Ice Rind Hatchet got heavily nerfed. It's pretty damn useless. The Stormhawk Axe is something you can actually get at the start of the game if you kill an NPC. But the thing with this, it deals high damage, but unless you like do some kind of meme where you have infinite poise, you really won't be able to pull this combo off. But just without any damage upgrades, like if I had lightning, spell, and physical upgrades like that, I did 2,000 damage in a few seconds. So if you manage to like poise break an enemy and then stand next to them and use this, you're gonna deal a lot of damage. And but like I said, enemies can knock you out of this if you can find a way to make it work. It's also pretty good to catch people that do jump attacks in PvP because you'll hit them first. But other than that, it's kind of a niche weapon, but it is really strong and you can get it super early. So that's the Stormhawk Axe. All right, what about great axes? Now, I want to talk about the butchering knife real quick. The thing with the butchering knife, it does like maybe 40 more damage than the Great Stars, but the Great Stars has bleed procs. And the butchering knife, I want to show you guys, just, this is also applies to Great Stars, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. There's a really cool mechanic with this knife, okay? For those that don't know, when you attack with this weapon, it heals you slightly. But also, if you attack with an Ash of War, it heals you for every time the Ash of War hits. So what that means is if you have a very fast-hitting Ash of War, then you will heal a ton, okay? Now, I would recommend Wild Strikes, as that is the highest DPS Ash of War you can put on this weapon. You can deal like 5,000 to 6,000 damage, you know, without damage buffs on a monster if they are staggered or you know, after their attack like swings finish. I'm just gonna let them beat me up a bit. Okay, so we're gonna do the Prelate's Fire Charge, and you know what? I'm gonna heal just a little bit for a safety reasons, a little safety heal. Let's charge him with fire. Okay, so look at my health. Every single fire tick, if he's standing in the fire, if I'm running at him, dealing, you know, constant fire hits, it just heals my health. And I have like 2,600 health, by the way, because max stats, and I'm using a plus 25% health increase rune. So yeah, it's just a fun little interaction. There's one other like Ash of War that hits really quickly, and that is, it's kind of like a Great Stars spell. It shoots like at least 10 little golden orbs at the enemy, and all of those little hits will heal you, but unfortunately the damage is just so crappy. That Ash of War is called, where's it at? It's called Golden Land, okay? So again, it's kind of silly, but it's just a fun mechanic that I haven't heard anyone else talk about, so I thought I'd share it with you. Alright, other than that, no real good ones. Clubs, nothing really special about clubs. Yes, I know people like have shown meme videos of like the horns and stuff where they shoot a million bubbles out and everything dies, but that requires significantly massive amounts of buffs. Just by itself, it sucks, okay? And you have to debuff the enemy boss, and the enemy boss has to be a large boss, not like a humanoid small boss. Alright, as flails, none are worth using really unless you're like farming dragon early game or something. Now, here's the thing, the Bastard Stars, here it's the same nebula spell, but look at the windup. You like swirl around and you lunge forward. You may be thinking, but there was more stars. There was more little splody stars, right? And it's a little weird when you do it in corners. Like, it doesn't shotgun as well. And this does less damage than the Wing of Astel too. It also has a longer delay. It's just not. It's a cool looking weapon because it's a little solar system, little galaxy. A flail, but whatever. Kind of goofy. Alright, so what about hammers? The Great Stars. Same thing as the butchering knife, except this one has blood loss buildup, so definitely do recommend. If you use Great Stars, I'm just going to give you another tip. This is for a mimic tier. If you want an unkillable mimic tier, give them the Great Stars, give them a Great Shield, give them all the defensives that I'm wearing, right? But also give him this spell, which is called, or I'm sorry, Ash of War, called Prayerful Strike. Now you remember early on when I showed you that one sword that you get from Rykard? This is the same thing, however, the casting animation is much slower. So you have to like power it up. That's gonna heal you like 30% of all your HP. Okay, if you have a Mimic tier with a Great Shield and this, he's never ever gonna die. Alright, so that's how you can basically just have a Mimic tier be a main tank if you want, right? So you would throw on a Shabiri's Woe, a Great Shield, summon your Mimic tier, and he's just never gonna die. So this weapon is just really nice for that kind of meme build, alright? Now, like I said, the horns suck. This Beast Claw Great Hammer is awful. The Devourer's Scepter really sucks. At plus 10, this ability does 200 damage. It heals you for 30%, but the cast animation is so much longer. Look how long this is. You're going to get knocked out of this animation. And yes, it's an AoE hit, so everything you hit is a 30% heal, but it's just, oh god, it does no damage. It does like 200 damage at plus 10. It sucks. Don't use this weapon. Alright, what about Colossal weapons, okay? A lot of people think that the Giant Crusher is the highest damage weapon in the game. It's not. Like, the Watchdog Staff, if you do jumping, just a regular jumping attack, it beats the Giant Crusher, okay? But also, the Watchdog Staff, it has an alright spell. It's not the greatest, but if you want to do, like, a jumping, like, dual-wielding attack build, then it's not bad. Okay, you just can't put you can't put the Royal Knight's Resolve on it. You can't buff it like crazy. But really, like this spell, it does a good amount of damage. It's pretty easy to spam. My gripe is that there's better, faster spells than this. All right, like this is pretty late, like a pretty lazy way to fight the boss. Like he's almost already halfway dead, right? My gripe is that this does no poise damage, and it takes a lot of mana. Even though I'm a max stat character, hey, he knocked me out of my rest animation. All right, it is viable if you want to use little homing circles. It's easy to dodge in PvP though. Yeah. So Giza's wheel sucks. Even if you are able to like have max poise and never be knocked out of your animation, it sucks. Now let me show you my favorite choice for weapons. Because this weapon you can get at the start of the game. I have videos on my channel. This is the Fallingstar Beast Star. And this thing has the highest poise damage per second in the whole game. Alright, this spell is called Gravity Bolt. It's a very long range spell. You can cast it relatively quickly. It deals very high damage. And it deals, like he's going to be stunned here. There's the poise damage. And if I run up and execute him, guess what? This does far more damage than a plus 25 Misery Core. That did 3,000. Misery Core does 1,500. This is like 2 Misery Cores in one. Alright, and it doesn't have that 140% crit rate, but even then, if you buff this, if you buff your character, you're going to be hitting extremely super hard. This weapon swings fast, it hits heavy, you're able to get it at the start of the game by cheesing a boss with Poison Mist. And also, if you drink a crystal line, if you drink your Flask of Physic with the one that increases your poise damage, guess what? It makes... I'll just show you. Okay, where is it at? Stone Barb? Yeah, more likely to break enemy stances in mixed physics. So we're going to go ahead and chug that one. And it will only take 3 casts now to poise break this gargoyle. It'll only take 3 casts to poise break anything in the game from range. This thing will knock flyers into the ground. This thing will track almost the fastest flying characters in the game, except for maybe like a dragonfly going full blast or Radon falling from the sky as a meteor. It won't track those two. But like 3 casts. There's 1, there's 2, and 3 poise broke. Now instead of executing, guess what? I can just hit him with like 3 to 4 more of these, and that's even more damage than executing before he can even act. I can just continue to spam this. The mana it costs, the focus points, whatever you want to call it, it's not that much. And this thing is absolutely broken in PvP. You know how annoying it is to fight someone that casts Thunderbolt? This is just a absolute better AoE version of Thunderbolt. So, normally it's like a 3v1, right? We start casting this at 3 melees that are like just kind of running at you all in a little dog pile, they're all dead. They're gonna try to roll out of it, but you can cast faster than they can roll. They're gonna run out of stamina before you run out of mana. So you always win if you just spam this spell. Alright, unless they run up and hit you with like a bleed build double curved sword one-shot, you're gonna win. There are so many hateful comments on my Steam profile when I've used this. I've deleted a bunch, but I left some up just so you guys can check it out if you want. But this is my pick as my favorite all-time weapon in the entire game. The Fallingstar Beast Jaw absolutely kills. It trivializes the PvE. It's great for PvP. There's just nothing better. Alright, and it's a cool-ass weapon. It looks so neat. Other than that, there's nothing really worth mentioning, okay? Now, if you want to do like a cheesy rot build, you could use a Rotten Crystal Spear, but you can't farm this till Halig Tree. It's pretty nice, or just a standard Dark Souls 2 melee build, no spells, no wacky shit, honorary duels, because you can dual wield these, stab a guy twice with it. You can put Ashes of War on it. It does decent damage. It's pretty good. I'm not going to bother showing it off, though. Alright, and then other than that, you would think like, with the description like Cerulea's Tree, this weapon is god-awful. It is terrible. Don't even bother. Pike's War Spear, it's okay, but it's not as good as it used to be, I don't think. I think it got stealth nerfed. I don't remember reading about it in the patch. Now, there's not really much else to talk about as far as weapons go. Those are pretty much your main ones, alright? As far as scythes go, Grave Scythe with just any standard Ash of War, better than the regular. Winged Scythe, I've had very good success in PvP with this weapon because people don't know the attack. It also locks people out of Estus. They can't, if you hit them with Angel's Wings, they can't heal. But you could also just throw an Albernaric pot at them, and that'll do the same thing. The whips, they're kind of memey. I don't really want to report on them much. They do an okay amount of damage. Nothing really worth mentioning as the best. Fist weapons all blow. They're all terrible. And I'm going to cover bows in a different, and crossbows in a whole different video. I've also covered magical weapons already, so go check out that video. I don't know if I'll have links in the description, probably not. Just dig through my channel. With that said, you know, maybe I'll make a video on shields if this video does good, but that is all the best weapons in Elden Ring that you should be using, that you should look out for, that are very, very, very good. You know, just use what you find fun, use what you find. That message just disappeared. Use what you find is the most interesting and gives you the biggest hit of dopamine or the biggest street cred, whatever it is you play video games for. I'm gonna use this Fallingstar Beast Jaw. This is my shindig right here. This big old jawbone right here. Just using a jawbone to chin people out. I have the biggest jaw, and that makes me the biggest Chad. Am I right, guys? Okay, with that cringe aside, leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button. I make videos every single day here on the Swole Benji channel. I'm Swole Benji, by the way. If you are financially independent and you're one of those big boys, stockbroker, lawyer types, and feel free to drop a $5 thing on becoming a channel member. Alright, you get custom emotes for YouTube live streams. It's like being a Twitch subscriber, but it's on YouTube. It's $5 a month. You get access to private, more personal videos, and access to some videos earlier, up to like 3 weeks earlier than the main crowd. So, if you like MMORPGs, check out my other content. I do a lot of MMORPG stuff here on the Swole Benji channel. Guys, come back tomorrow for another video. I will see you then. Take care, alright? Take care.